Is happening. It could be happening just next door. So
Mhm.
that's what we want to, just focus a bit on today, the actual victims and their side of the story, and how we
Mhm.
can help somebody somewhere to be liberated, to break the silence, right? So that
Mhm.
they can start receiving their healing
Mhm.
in the whole process.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm happy about in a way is that the consciousness of the entire community, whether it is Grenada or in the diaspora, people are like they have forced to have this conversation
Right.
because this thing is happening right before
Our
our eyes.
eyes.
But like we say, breaking news, it has been happening before our eyes. We started this conversation some months ago. I mean, as we follow the trail of the fallen princess, and I'm beginning to understand why the Lord wanted me to bring this issue to the fore. Because just as how it is happening, someone snatching someone almost in bright daylight, and now it become a visible experience because everybody can see. But in a way, it has been happening like that all
All
along.
along.
Children within their homes, within the community, and just because nobody talks about it doesn't mean that it has not been happening. And throughout the years, we saw many women. I mean, sometimes the men they suffer in silence as well, but we see young girls, babies also experiencing. We have a couple of national events that has happened, but let me say this has is almost everyday occurrence. So
Right.
now that it's in the media, it's in everybody's people are seeing it right before their eyes. This becomes an example of what many people are faced with on an actual daily basis.
Yes, of course. And those of you that are joining with us, we're dealing with the aspects of sexual exploitation, sexual violence, rape, all of these terminology, and how it affects the victim, those that are part, those that have been experiencing this over the period. And we're going to be talking about this afternoon, looking at the narrative of the story of Tamar, right,
Mhm.
who was a victim of rape in the Bible. And of course, taking that in the narrative in terms of how we today are
Mhm.
experiencing some of the similar issues. So, again, let's go to Tamar. Tamar is a very interesting story. Some people say Tamar,
Right.
or whatever the
Tamar. Yeah. Yeah.
pronunciation. But this is an interesting story, but it's
Mhm.
real and it's in the Bible and it has not been camouflaged, so to
Right.
speak. So let's go into the narrative and extract the concepts that are there and the
Mhm.
experiences of this young girl in terms of sexual violence, sexual exploitations.
Mhm. So, Second Samuel chapter 13 is where we are today. And this story particularly focuses on a young princess. Now, she is the daughter of the most powerful king at the time, King David. And he has a son, like he has a number of children, some from the same mother, but um, she is the princess, and this her brother Amnon is from another mother, right? So it's a half
Half
brother,
brother,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
And somehow Amnon became attracted to Tamar. In fact, he became so attracted to her. The Bible said he was literally obsessed with the girl. So imagine, even as you think about it, this is her brother, this is her blood brother. But what has to trigger something in his mind that he's become over obsessed, lustful against his own sister. So we put a pause on that
First
for a
problem.
while.
Yeah.
That's the first
First
problem.
Yeah.
problem
First
there.
I mean,
problem.
and
So
this also constitute incest,
right.
Yes.
right?
Right. And the thing about it is that he is not silently obsessed. I just imagine that on a daily basis, it becomes obviously she was a pretty girl, well groomed, so he is um, focusing on this girl. As they say, he's zooming on her for some reason
Yes.
Right.
or the other. I mean, she's grown up now, she's blossoming, I guess. Her hips and curves are starting to take
Puberty.
Shape.
dominance. And all of a sudden he's obsessed with her.
Right.
And he has a friend who said, well, what's wrong with you? You are a prince. You are the
Yeah.
king's son. I mean, no woman should be outside of your grasp. Can you put a pause on that one? I
Next
put a
issue.
click on that
Next
one. Next
issue.
Next.
issue, right? So in the friend's mind, Jonadab, he cannot fathom that the prince will want a woman and not have
Have
her
her.
for one reason or the other. So they devise a plan that or he will pretend to be sick. So Amnon pretended to be sick and made a request to King David that Tamar, his sister, can come into his quarters to bake cakes. I have another problem with that.
Yeah.
So I want to put a mark on that one
Right.
because I mean she is a princess, right? What makes you so special? What about the
The
maids? What about the
maids.
cooks? What about the
Yeah.
workers? Why is it that you don't want the other people to prepare?
Right.
I guess,
And why does she have to come inside
and
your
Side.
why does she have to
quarters
Of
come
course.
within your
to
quarters to be
prepare
able to
it?
prepare it?
Hmm.
So that should have been a red flag.
Right.
But obviously, King David thought nothing of it, and he gave permission so Tamar could come. No, Tamar is coming with a bodyguard. Just work with me sometime. Work with
Yeah.
me, somebody.
Yeah.
She's coming with her bodyguard. She has her maids. I mean, everybody is there. So
Yes.
everybody's in Amnon. How she came, she baked him cake, and all of a sudden, he wants her to come inside of his bedroom to feed him.
Mm.
Hey, don't we start
We have
getting
a problem again.
this thing is just constantly
Yeah.
getting worse. So she has to come to feed him. So I mean, she's naive, innocent. She's not thinking that her brother would be thinking
Right.
these devious thoughts towards her. So obviously, she went into his bedroom. All of a sudden, he sent all the attendants, bodyguard, everybody outside. So now this princess is within the context of her palace,
Hmm.
and right with the attendants and the maids and everybody in the palace, maybe just outside the door, Amnon grabbed a hold of Tamar and raped her. Hey, and I breathe right there. So this innocent girl,
Yeah.
virgin girl,
Hmm.
enters into her brother's house, a lovely virgin princess, and leaves a spinster. In other words, he literally changed, like renamed, reframed,
Her
like
identity.
And the Bible said that Tamar tried to stop him. She said, "I mean, this thing has never been done in Israel. It's
Hmm.
like this. It's like." You should just ask my dad and he will allow me to be your wife. But he doesn't want her to be his
Right.
wife. He
Right.
just wanted to violate her. And I'm thinking about the kind of spiritual forces that might have
Right.
been behind that.
Yes.
Almost like he was compelled to deflower
Hmm.
her.
Yeah.
And the Bible said that she begged him, don't do this. And
Yeah.
says, where am I going to ever hide my shame? Or like, because when you're a young girl and you're not a virgin in those days, it was like you could be killed
Yeah.
for
Hmm.
not being a virgin.
Hmm.
And no, she would never marry because nobody would want to
Nobody.
have her
Right.
as a man. So you think about how if you look at the devastation that rape can have on an individual person, she could have been the queen, she could have been some king's
Hmm.
wife, she could have been anybody. And the
Right.
Bible said he raped her, and she took off her princess garment. She tore it almost like in a kind of sackcloth and ashes kind of a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And she I guess she would have taken off the crown already. And and I'm in the context of my imagining the story. I imagine that all she had was her princess crown, knocked to the ground. And at one point, she will, I guess, take the sheets and cover up herself. I'm just, I'm
Mm.
just,
Yeah.
I'm just making
Yeah.
it live,
Because I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
if we stick a pin here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you see how there's a mastermind behind
Mm-hmm.
defilement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with every young person, and it doesn't always have to be a girl, a
Yes.
female,
She
but you
doesn't have to
see,
be young,
yeah, because
right?
sex is one of the most powerful tools of defilement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're seeing the trajectory, right? Driven not just by lust, external lust, but also there's a force behind this
Mm-hmm.
to defile this young girl to the point where she becomes just like the torn rag,
Mm-hmm.
right? Useless. And that is very important because sometimes we say we say that, okay, maybe they dress too provocatively,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they shouldn't be in that place at that time in that space, or all kinds of excuses that we do. But we know that Satan is going to target the young maidens, He's
Mhm.
going to target the young boys. He's going to target them very early so that he's able to defile them. So this I'm seeing a dual thing here. It's happening physically,
Mhm.
but there's also a spiritual target,
Mhm.
upon young persons, young girls like this. It's a tragedy, really, as we look at the narrative of how the plot, watch the plot, watch the
Mhm.
whole mastermind, even in the context where it is, it shouldn't even be, he shouldn't be even having, attraction to his
All
sister,
right.
but attraction is attraction.
Mhm.
And sometimes when we can't pace our attraction, we can't, qualify it. Okay, this is not a correct attraction. We have in our culture today all ideologies, right? And we don't really want to go there, but we have to go there sometimes because this is part of an ideology, sexual orientations,
Mhm.
right? Where you're being attracted, but you do not know how to maybe direct that attraction in the right
Mhm.
place.
Mhm.
Okay. And here's this young boy struggling with his attraction for his sister. Of course, as you said, she's beautiful. She's a
Mhm.
princess, so
Of
she's
course.
well taken care of.
Of
Smells
course.
good. She dressed good,
Mhm.
right? And here is this young boy not able to balance himself in terms of his attraction. Maybe we could talk about that a little bit as we go into the narrative, because somebody's attraction could be somebody's tragedy.
Mhm.
You see,
Mhm.
again, as we're pacing the narrative of how this girl is being targeted by Satan, how she's being targeted. She's a princess, she has potential, she's
Mhm.
going to be some great, wonderful person. And there it goes, right in the privacy of her home, where she's supposed to be really protected
And safe.
and safe,
Mhm.
right? And a lot of rape situation in Grenada happens
Mhm.
among people who supposed to be the trusted guardians,
Mhm.
and that is the reality. The adults that we trust as our uncles or aunties or cousin, you know, father, are the very perpetrators themselves.
Yeah.
This is
And if I'm to add here, just looking at the whole situation here with Tima, as
Mhm.
Bishop would say,
Mhm.
this whole situation just changed the trajectory of her life. That's how we'd
Mhm.
put it. Because
Mhm.
what happened here is, and as Bishop was saying, the whole plan of the enemy in the first place
Mhm.
is to change. So the enemy knows the promises that the Lord has for us. He
Mhm.
knows what he calls us. We are his precious ones and so on. And he will do whatever it takes to get off track.
Mhm.
And so these situations are there, and it's so sad sometimes, as the story here is, the people who are supposed to be protecting
Mhm.
Tema. I mean, she's a princess.
Yeah.
So all the guards and everybody that should be protecting her,
Mhm.
everybody let down their guard at that point in time. So it showed the power that Amnon had.
Right.
So
And
he was able to
yes,
send
yes,
everybody
mhm.
out
yes,
of there. So he knew what he had and he
mm,
exercised that
yeah,
power. And I'm just looking at the friend on the side there
Mhm.
who
mm,
helped him
yes,
devise the
yes,
Such a
plan.
devious,
and we
evil
have a lot of
plan.
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
Yes,
yeah. But this is not outside of the norm.
yeah,
It speaks
yes,
of power.
power,
It speaks of season opportunity.
opportunities,
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it speaks of like in a way, rape wants what rape once, and like nobody could stop it. I mean, almost like almost as if it's kind of like a insatiable
Yeah.
thirst. Like if it's a
yes,
like a kind of
Hmm.
even the situation that we have at
Yes.
hand. Like how
yes.
Yes.
can somebody just grab somebody in bright daylight?
Yeah.
What is in the mind of rape
And then
that
it
gives rape that
continues.
power and authority? What
Mm.
kind of
But if we,
wiring?
if we go
Like what
Yeah,
back
kind of
to,
wiring is
sometimes
in there?
there's generational things in there, because as you go back to David,
Mm-hmm.
when he raped Bathsheba,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sometimes these spirits, they reside in families, and they keep that negative trajectory from generations to come. Why is
Mm-hmm.
this young man so, driven with passion and lust for his sister? Okay,
Mm.
and this is an abnormal situation. you know. And so you see that deep rooted satanic seed going down,
Mm,
right? Because while this might be natural as we're looking, it is also deeply rooted, because nothing natural, right? For this to happen, it cannot be natural.
Yeah.
It
mhm,
has to be demonically
mhm,
driven,
mhm,
right? And so, opportune time. Maybe she's just reached her puberty. Maybe she's just turning womanhood, right?
mhm,
A significant point in her life, because he
mhm,
didn't try to rape her earlier than that. Before that, maybe he's want to be the first, whatever, the reason that men normally have. But there's so many dynamics and
mhm.
moving parts to this narrative that aligns to a lot of what happens in our own culture, maybe around the world, of these rape incidences, right? And in our culture, what would have caused Amnon to be driven so much by lust?
I think
Oh.
I read the story, listened to the videos of a serial rapist called Ted Bundy, and one of the things that struck me about his story, I mean, he raped and killed like hundreds of women.
Mm,
But one of the things that got me about his story is the fact that he has like a dual personality,
right.
because while he is a serial rapist and murderer, he has family, he's married, he's got children, he goes on romantic dates. He's like he
Try to
has this whole
shelter
new
himself.
life
Yes.
on the one hand,
Mm,
and it's almost like he's transformed into this devious person, goes
mhm,
out and commits the crime and comes back home to be
mm,
normal.
yes.
Like, and like even this week I got to thinking about that. Like everybody you might call a rapist is presumably a very
A very
normal
nice person.
individual,
Yes.
and some people have the ability to be able to switch personality. So like when you're talking to this person on the street, that person might be the nicest person, that person might be
Mm,
helpful, and that person might be thoughtful,
right.
and that person might be loving and whatever. So it's not like if Amnon he's a prince, and in that moment, lust consumed him and he turned into a
Mm,
different animal.
yeah.
So now he's not, when she's crying out, he's not thinking that he's destroying her life. When all he is trying to do is to satisfy the
Hmm.
depth of the lust that is
That he
within him.
has.
Yes.
Yes.
So, I mean, within the context of perpetrators, like they're not thinking, how can you, a big, as you would say, a big, a hard back man, right, have any kind of feeling for a child? Because people rape babies, they rape,
Mm,
in
yes.
this case, 7 year olds and
Yes.
5 year olds and
Hmm.
2 year olds.
Hmm.
So let's talk about what's going on in the
Hmm.
mind of an individual for him to have an attraction for your sister, for your
Right.
cousin, for your family, for a
Mm,
child, for a baby, for an old woman.
right.
That is not, like, this is not
Yeah. I
natural
mean, for us, it's
attraction.
not
It
natural.
is not natural
Definitely.
attraction. It is not
Yeah,
natural
it
by
is
no, by no
unnatural. Yes.
definition is it natural.
Yeah. But I
So
think
there is a
the
spiritual
yeah,
like, there is a
yeah.
spiritual dimension that we cannot miss. It's
Right.
almost as if the enemy sends out an
Yes.
assassin
Right.
for a particular individuals, and victims are made to believe. Like I was talking to somebody today and she asked, why did I go through all of that? Why me?
Mm, yeah.
Like, and that might be the cry of many victims. Why did I go through all
Mm,
of that? And
yeah.
even as I was talking to her, I said to her, you know what? A lot of the times the people look at this girl, she was a princess.
Mm,
She had so much potential. She had the power to change the trajectory of her
mm-hmm.
country. She could have married a king. She could have
Right.
married some powerful individual. And with what she was wired with when she came to earth, she might have the potential to change the trajectory of the kingdom.
Mm,
So usually the enemy will attack those whose potential becomes a threat to his kingdom.
truth.
So if we begin to change the perspective as if, well, I am such a weakling, I'm such a victim, why did they target me and why did they not target someone else? In truth and in fact, the target is always on the ones with the potential to become great. They talk to me about Jesus.
Yes.
Didn't Herod
Mm-hmm.
target him when he was a child? Talk to
Truth.
me about
Yes.
Moses. You
Yes.
understand? So in what the one of the strategy of the enemy is to get the great ones before they know that they're great, so he can corrupt their identity, corrupt their self-concept, corrupt, like the confidence to become. And victims, as hard as it may seem, are sometimes the one who have the greatest potential. and it's as if the enemy notices that this person is going to become, you see that one become a threat to my
Target.
kingdom. I will target them, and I would literally take them out before they get to know what they're capable of doing.
Yes, of course,
It's like
and
a disarming in a
yes,
way.
a disarming,
Hmm.
and that is, and he uses one of the most powerful weapons, because
Yes.
sex is very powerful um, thing, right?
Hmm.
It's very powerful. That's why I always like to say it this way: it's like putting a machine gun in the hands of a child.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
you just don't know what to do with it, and you will just destroy either yourself or somebody next to you. So it's a very powerful instrument of control,
Hmm.
right? And it can destroy like a machine gun if it
Hmm.
is not used properly, if it is not targeted in the right places. And of course, the people, the persons that are being um, that have gone through it are the victim or the victims. They are the ones that feels the weight and that feels the impact of this thing that is not done right,
Hmm.
right? And we're looking at the impact and the effect on the victim, right?
Hmm.
We know too that, okay, because we want to also target those who might be thinking along the trajectory of doing these things
Hmm.
and helping them to understand that this is, they need to control themselves. They need to understand that there's a right place and time to express these desires that are sometimes overwhelming, because of course, you know, in our culture there's a lot of pornography,
Hmm.
exposure to sexual activities and images and pictures and stuff like that now, so it becomes harder to control
Hmm.
for a lot of our perpetrators. And I know half of the cases, more than 90%, sometimes of the imprisoned persons are cases of sexual exploitation, in some instances, rape, molestation, whatever it is, right? So there's a high percentage of offense, even across our land, in the prison, that's a result of this. So the control mechanism, the exposure, right? The ability to handle when it comes, because you know in our culture it's like there is no restraint, there is no restriction, there is no
Hmm.
self-discipline. You know, it's like we have not learned delayed gratification, and that's a problem because we just feel we can just do it. People do animals, they do dead people, they
Hmm.
do objects. There are a lot of sex toys that are being sold
Hmm.
across the country now, right, to individuals to pleasure themselves. So it's a whole pleasure seeking society, right? And as you say, the weapon becomes one of mass destruction.
Hmm.
You know,
I mean, Ecclesiastes tells us about whoever breaks a hedge,
a
a
serpent.
serpent will bite them, and it highlights the issue of going beyond God's boundaries, beyond
Mm,
what is allotted, what God have allowed, and also Solomon also talks about waking up love before the time.
right.
So in my studies, it seems like I've always been on this path.
Mm,
In my studies, I came up with like actually my master's thesis I did the influence of internet pornography on teenage sexual
mm,
behavior in Grenada, aged 13 to 8,
mm,
13 to 18, and their perception of reality. And one of the things that I found is that the children are being exposed
mm.
to
Yes,
raw sexual
the innocence,
contents
yeah,
at a very early
early
age.
age.
Like some of them, they're peeping through keyholes, or
Mm,
they pretending to be asleep, or like when the older brothers and sisters are looking at porn and they open somebody's phone, and some of them who has tablet, they have the tablets and they have the phones,
mm,
and these things are pop up based on the algorithm that other
mm,
people would have searched and so on. So you will find a child who might be 2 or 3 years old. It's possible to have been exposed to full sexual context. Now, when it comes to the perception of reality, that's where the issue comes in. The
mhm,
perception of reality means the ability of that individual to understand something as real.
mhm,
And for children, whatever they
Yeah.
see is
Yeah,
real,
copy. Yeah.
right? So if the child is seeing full sexual context without the understanding of even sometimes what's going on, it fuels a
Brilliant.
fire in
Yes.
them.
Yes.
And in my research, I found that the earlier they were exposed,
Mm-hmm.
the more sexually active they became at
Yes.
an early
Yes.
age, and the more diverse
Yes.
their desire for sexual
Mm-hmm.
experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And like like I had cried so many times through that study, because like when you think you have your little 3-year-old, 2-year-old, 1-year-old
Mm-hmm.
in your arm, and you're saying chunkalungs, heaving them up in the air,
Mm.
because you're trying to preserve their innocence. And gone are the days when we get a chance to talk about the birds and the bees. Well,
Yeah.
apparently the birds probably eat the
They're
bees,
gone away.
so we don't really have that anymore.
They
And
travel, travel west.
they've already been gone past the birds and the
Yes,
bees, you
yes,
Yeah.
understand?
definitely.
And as a result of that, like they are consumed, and in their mind, this is not like we might be able to separate this from real or what. When they see it in the movie, they think that is what,
That
so
is
they
it.
copy it.
Yeah.
It becomes a part of them,
Mm.
and that in itself, it fuels the passion,
Right.
and the passion continue to fuel. So we have many young people burning
Truth.
with passion because they have been
Right.
exposed too long. And the thing about lust is that it consumes you to the point that it forces you to action.
Action. Yeah.
And unless you are forced, I think that's what happened to Amnon.
Mm.
He's so consumed with her that he has to do something about it,
Yes.
or else
Yes.
I will die. I have to do
Yes.
something. I have to quench this fire. I have to, and then it doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter where, it doesn't matter
Oh,
what. All they want to do, as they say,
To
is
make
to
it
get
happen.
rid of
Yes.
that
Yeah.
passion.
Mm.
And then once it's done almost like a vampire bites you,
Mm.
like in the
Yes.
proverbial vampire, and it
Yes.
turns you into something
Yes.
else,
Yes.
So
Because I mean, in this narrative, he hates her. I
after
mean, how you could
oh
love
my
her,
God, 1 minute he says he
burn in
loves her.
passion, and then you hate her.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah. So it was almost like once you have satisfied the loss, then you came back to reality, so to speak, and
Yeah.
realize it's like you literally hate her in that moment.
Yes.
And then throughout that's part of what happened, is that she don't have a voice to complain. She don't have, like, nobody to
Mm.
fight for her.
Right.
And it just bugged me that, okay, everybody was silent. Where is her mother?
Truth.
Where is her father? Where are all the attendants? Where is her bodyguard who will stand up and say, no, this thing is wrong?
Right.
No, in fact, it become a secret, and she gets home, and her brother Absalom is obviously aware that something has happened, because she didn't leave the same way that she lived. And he asked her the question. He said, "Has Amnon been with you?" And
Mm.
I didn't even see the scripture answer. And he said, "Don't tell anyone. He is your brother."
Mm.
And that is the echo of victims everywhere,
Truth.
where you put a
It's the
family to
silence
shame.
somebody.
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone. Or within the context of the person, if I tell people, they will think this and they will think that. And
Right.
sometimes the perpetrator themselves said, if you want to tell anybody, I will kill you.
Right.
And that becomes the thing that silences them,
Right.
or I will kill your family, or I will do something, or whatever. I will tell everybody that you
Yeah.
asked for it, or whatever.
Right.
So silence become like the the dangerous slippery slope that many
Right.
victims are
And as we
sliding through.
look into the impact itself, because
Hmm.
we just want to reiterate the red flags.
Hmm.
So because some people might be in a position where they're compromised and they don't know it,
Hmm. Hmm.
like Tamar. Right,
Hmm.
she was compromised. She thought it was safe. She thought, well, this is my brother. You know, you're not thinking anything. The naivety,
Hmm.
you know. So let's just recount the red flags, and then let's go into the actual impact itself, right?
Hmm.
And how devastating that is, because we're talking, those of you that are just joining us here on the Threshing Floor Helpline, we're here dealing with the devastating effect of sexual assault. All right. And of course, the victims, they're the ones that feel the impact the most. Not that the perpetrators don't feel it, because both people are impacted in negative ways. But if you're just joining us here on the Threshing Floor Helpline, we're discussing this very pertinent and important topic, because what we are aiming to do is to curb this problem, is to, put a dent, a full stop on this from now, so that
Hmm.
in the future we don't have too many of these repeat. And we're just talking about the impact. We're looking at the narrative of Tamar, a young girl who was raped, right, by her own brother, half
Mhm.
brother, and we're looking at the red flags. So if we could just list the red flags, and of course you can give a comment, you can, I'm not sure if you can call, but you can give a comment. We
Not
don't have
today.
that
Can't
device
call today.
today, but you can share your response on the chat, whether you're watching by YouTube
Mhm.
or you can just you know comment so that we can know by a Facebook, so we can see the comment and we know
Okay.
that you're with us watching and being part of this conversation. So what are the red flags?
So
Kerry, you want to talk about?
if you would look at it, so Amnon was sick,
Hmm.
right?
Hello, he was not
So
It
sick.
was
I'm
He
not sick.
sorry. He
pretended.
pretended he
So
devised
it
the
was a
plan,
scheme.
right?
Yeah,
And he's living in the palace.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, who do you call when you're sick?
Right?
Is
Because the
Tamara
That's
nurse
not a
or
nurse?
the
red flag.
doctor.
I
Is
mean,
she
Yeah.
a doctor?
if I could say the first red flag is the blooming of Tema.
Oh,
Young girls, they tend to bloom when they're in puberty,
Yeah.
right? They tend to bloom. So
So
let's take it
he
but
from
was
the
a
it
stalker
was a
watching her.
natural. It's a
Yes.
is
natural
following
process. A
her
Yes.
natural
development.
process,
Yes,
Yes.
and he is there
it's following. Yeah,
looking into it more than he should.
yes.
Okay, so
Hmm.
first red flag.
Go find
First
a
red
wife.
flag.
Right.
Yes. Hmm.
Then he brings it to a friend
Right.
Yes,
that helps him put together this evil plan.
yeah.
Hmm.
Another red flag.
Influence of
Yes.
friends. Yeah.
Influencer friends.
Hmm.
Another red flag.
Mhm.
But then he says that he's sick.
Right.
Why is Tima the one he's calling for? Why no one
Right.
saw that there was an issue here? Because when you're sick, I'm sure they have nurses and doctors
And
and
maids and
herbalists
cooks.
and maids, and
Yes.
there's a whole crew of people
Yes.
that can come to his aid.
Yes.
Okay,
So you
so
must be vigilant about
Vigilant.
vigilant,
those things.
Right.
right? Okay, so
Yes.
But
Tima,
I'm sure he must have
So,
been watching her at some point,
of
maybe,
course,
trying to hitting her soul, touching her,
and
all these little things.
I'm glad
are
you
looking in
introduced this,
Yes.
Bishop Esther,
some
because
signs.
it's like this. It doesn't happen in a
A vacuum,
vacuum, right?
right?
There are like sometimes subtle comments, there are
Yes.
subtle interactions,
Yeah.
and I think parents have to begin to teach their children like
Right.
not only good touch, bad touch, but how to deal with
Mm.
intrusion of their
Mm.
privacy
Right.
and so
Yes.
on. Because usually someone might not just grab you out of the blues
Truth.
in a
Yeah.
usually they will
Yeah.
be
Set
looking
themselves
at
up.
you,
Yeah.
they'll be telling you something,
Mm.
sometimes men or women, because remember we're not
Yes.
only
Both,
talking
both,
about
both
women.
parties.
Men or women might be grooming the little ones, so they need something for school, they will give it to them. They
Mm.
need some kind of, the parents don't have what, they'll be the first, because you remember I said to them, these are the
Vulnerable.
nicest people, like they
Yeah.
will be helpful,
Yeah.
they'll be thoughtful. And so sometimes you find that even within the context of the workplace, people will touch you as a joke, or they will make
Mm.
certain comments about certain things. They are sometimes testing
The waters.
the
Yes.
environment to see to
To
what
see how
extent they can
vulnerable you
come.
are.
Yeah.
And one of the things I can remember when I was growing up, I was a telltale. Usually people who like to talk a lot, they don't take no chances with them. They are more prone to people who might be likely to be
Silence.
silent
Silence
Silence.
and
ones.
so
Right.
on, or they might threaten them to be silent.
Yeah.
And when children are expressive, because sometimes the parents need to create this environment where their
Mm.
child can come and talk to them
Truth.
about this or that, because sometimes they would say certain things, subtle little things. I had an experience with a person, the, the young lady I know, she was turning 16. And he
Mm.
said, oh, well, I have a girlfriend that is 16 years old, a big man. I'm like, all right, I flipped. So that was it for me. That was enough to make a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
deal out of it.
Mhm.
Because if you're saying that she's now turning 16, happy birthday, I have a girlfriend that is 16. What are
Yeah.
you saying? So
Yeah.
those
Invitation.
little
Yeah.
things that
Yes.
you make us come, and he was like, why am I making such a big deal about it?
Mm.
I said it is a big deal
Yes.
because the
Yes.
message is clear.
Clear.
So that if you have a girlfriend that is 16, obviously she can be your
Your
girlfriend.
Yeah.
friend.
I said she cannot be your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm kind of extra when
Yeah.
it comes to
Yeah.
that. But if parents can make their children,
Mhm.
help their children to become a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
maybe over
Yeah.
vigilant. So any little things they're able to
Right.
cover it at the beginning
And
and
even
speak up
even
louder
the
than you.
concept of vulnerabilities,
Mm-hmm.
poverty,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
lack,
Mm-hmm.
because I've seen a lot of those are lures,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Or somebody might like a particular thing. You like to
Mm-hmm.
play sport, or you like
Mm-hmm.
to go swimming,
Mm.
or
Mm-hmm.
you like to play music, or whatever. It might be just something that you like to do, or enjoy doing, or going out, or what have you. And that could be a vulnerability. or your mother couldn't give you money for the to lunch this week. That could be a vulnerability. She didn't give you
Right.
enough money for bus. That could be
Mm-hmm.
a vulnerability. You
Yeah.
didn't get the cell phone that you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
That again, these are some vulnerabilities. Poverty along the poverty line level, or along maybe children might want certain amenities,
And
and
they
their
don't have
parents
it.
can again because the parents is focusing on the more important stuff,
That's right.
right? The books that you will need, or the shoes and socks that you will need, the
Mm.
uniform,
Mm-hmm.
rather than me giving you a cell phone. And so that becomes vulnerability, because now it becomes a bait, it becomes a lure,
Right. That
to, to
that give them the
right?
opportunity to do it.
Especially for bus operators and
Mm-hmm.
people who drive taxis and other people who might be in, well off positions. So all of these
Mm-hmm.
are red flags, people,
Yeah.
right?
So
Red
so
flags.
going back to Tamar's red flag. I mean, this girl is just a bubbly, innocent girl.
Yes.
This girl is not even
And
imagining that
she's so
her
naive.
brother.
Yeah.
She's so naive because if they tell you come into their bedroom, red flag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If they tell
Yeah.
you come into
Yeah.
their house or their home or whatever, red
red
flag.
flag
Because you're not going to put yourself. What happened is that she ended up in a vulnerable position.
position. In the silence. Mean that sometimes we can talk about it. And you see that girl, I must have her. Right. You see this one over here, she looking so good. So sometimes they talk like, oh, I'm gonna talk to this friend. And I say, yeah, like, I bet you knew. We can't let her go, or
Yes.
whatever. And they might have a challenge, or they might have dare the other person to take her down. Because for men, it's pursuing. Gives them that
Like
level of
yeah.
power,
They are hunters, yeah.
control,
Hunters, yeah.
right?
And then sometimes people tell you things and you take it for a joke. I remember one time a guy is like he's like constantly in pursuit. Like a guy is like you, yo, I'm telling young people, yo, I'm the wrong time.
Yeah.
And he was so
So
bold
then
as
you
to
wanna
say to
put
me,
it.
he's like, I must have you. Even if you die, I will come and laugh for and get you. That's what he said. So if you think about it, like I had to cancel that. Like I had to cancel that. And I had to say it to him, it will never. But sometimes they say they will do it in good or bad. And sometimes some young people find themselves in certain situations, not because they want to be there, because they are lured there by some spiritual forces and like they are baited. And sometimes I remember dealing with a young woman. She said like she has this boyfriend, it's her legitimate boyfriend, so they plan to run away and go somewhere. And when she showed up, he brought his friends. And they literally gang rape her. You understand what I'm saying? Like, no, it was many years ago, but it's something that happens all the time. She didn't bargain for that, but she
Right.
was just in the wrong place at the right time. So I want to encourage young people, do not put yourself in vulnerable positions, because you
Right.
don't know the people that you're dealing with. Because the guy, as Amnon friend, um, um,
Yeah.
also they're plotting, they're finding a way, how am I going to get that girl?
Yes.
Because sometimes
They're
the young
studying
people
you.
or the young boys, they want
They're
to be
studying
chaste, they
you.
don't want to have sex before marriage, or they're not ready to have sex. But a lot of the times within the school system, as we
Yes.
speak,
Yes.
the young people are forced
Mm-hmm.
into sex by their
They are
friends.
bullied.
Sometimes they are bullied into sex.
Yes.
Some of them, you know. I mean, and there are so many horror stories.
Sure.
You know, this is
Most
happening in
definitely.
real time. You know,
Yes.
real time.
So if we would just start looking at the devastation that it
yeah.
has on the victim.
Right. So
Let's
let's look at
talk
the
about that.
immediate impact.
Here.
Okay, going back to the story of
So the
Tamar.
immediate impact.
Go
So
back
she
to
was-
the
she was
story of Tamar.
devastated.
Right. So it happened physically. So it's like they will feel the shame. They will
Right.
feel the like
Yeah.
the reason she
But
tore.
even before you deal with
she
the
tore.
shame, you have the trauma.
Yeah, but
Right.
wait.
Right.
But I'm just saying the fact that she tore her virgin garment meant that she didn't feel that she was of that value
Right,
anymore. So the lack of value is
Value.
almost like if somebody can invade my space like that, afterwards some young people just open sepulcher, like anybody comes gets. You know, because it's as if they don't feel that they have the moral compass to say no because of the broken hymen, so to speak.
Right.
The person came into their private space and stole a kind of proverbial virtue from them. And so she tore her virgin garment. Like she tore it apart. I'm no longer a virgin. I would never be a virgin anymore. I would never marry. I would never. So that devaluing of the self is a big part.
So it's
of
almost
it.
like she took on a different identity.
different
She's no longer she was no longer
Yeah.
the person
Damage,
that
you
she
know.
was
Right.
before.
It changed. It
Yeah.
changed. And some
Yeah.
people say it literally changed the way they feel, almost like another person had
Right.
taken over their bodies, you know. And some people like say that they feel as if their sexual organs and is no longer theirs. Almost like it takes
Something
on a life.
foreign.
Yeah, it takes up a life of its own, almost like it's foreign. Like if you hear the stories, you would realize that in the minute time the thing happened, I know someone who was raped, she didn't know who raped her, and she literally flipped, like mentally flipped. You know, so that can
Yeah.
happen as well. And well, the shame is like, wow. You know, they like some people will say they feel as if everybody looks at them, can see the thing, see the dirt, see the damage, see that they're no longer, you know, because there's a thing about virginity that gives a girl a kind of confidence, like a kind of, I could say no, I don't want you anytime. But if that is stolen, then they lost the ability to say no.
Yeah.
Their power to say, well, I don't want this. And it's almost like, how can you say you don't want this, but you've done that, or this
Right.
has happened to you? So it becomes a kind of, you know, a kind of shameful surrender to whatever comes. So that's one. So she tore her virgin garment, and before that she was pleading with him, please don't do that. This is going to be a shame in Israel. This has never been done. You will be like a foolish man in Israel. But he didn't listen to her scream. In the book I talked about how her scream might have gotten louder and louder.
Yeah.
But it was deafening to her, but nobody heard. So she screamed. And then she's thrown out of the room on the ground again. And in my own imagination, as the story continued, she only has her crown, a symbol of what she used to be. So imagine how quickly an individual can change. Just a couple of minutes ago, she was a beautiful virgin girl. In truth and in fact, nothing really changed.
Sure.
She was still the daughter of the king. She was still a princess.
That's the
Right? She was
difference.
still
Yeah.
everything. But the way she felt on the inside seemed as if everything had changed. It is not possible for any type of trauma to actually change an individual in the real sense of change. What changes is how they feel
Feel
about
about the
themselves.
perspective. Yeah. As I was
Yeah.
talking about, like the immediate trauma itself, because for somebody to force themselves on
Right,
you,
the pain.
they have to suppress you to a point where you cannot, you cannot free yourself because they have to gain the control.
Right.
Right, so there's a suppression, and then trying to get out of that grasp will scream, will bawl, will call, will kick, will
Nobody
like
breaks
a
down the
bull
door.
coming to the slaughter, and then you're not able to, because the perpetrator is too strong for
Yes,
you, too powerful
overpowering.
for you. So then you give up. You let go your guard, and you give up, in surrender to the strength of the person. Now that takes a lot of energy. That takes a lot of willpower. That takes a lot of mind, mental work, right? To escape, because our flight and fright response as human being, right? If I cannot overpower this person, then I have to fight. Okay? Because I cannot flee. I don't have the power to move. I am pinned down to this position. My my mouth is barred. My body energy is no longer. So that trauma alone, so that's why rape is evasive, because it brings a lot of the trauma, and a lot of people, you remember the incident like that, the struggling, the calling, the bawling, like how she screamed, or the attempt to escape, the attempt to avoid the trajectory of what you are suspecting is going to happen, and the powerlessness, right, to getting free. That alone has a lot of mental strain on an individual. Even people who are not actually raped but have gone through the attempted rape
Yeah.
still feel
Yeah.
the trauma and the devastation.
And based
So
on my
that's-
research also,
yes.
it has the same
Effect.
effects,
Yes.
whether it was full blown, whether it was attempted, whether it was just they take your clothes
Right.
off, like in the case of a story in the book, whether you wore pants,
Right.
just the exposure, just
Right.
the exposure of
Against
your
your will
privacy
and- right.
against your will. If they just raise up your clothes, or they might just touch you in a certain way. I know a young lady, she was just touched on the breast, and it had, like, she spent years, like, as I was working with her, she had no idea that was the reason why she was going through a whole host of emotional trauma and decisions that she made, and things was done by her father. And so she ended up in a situation where it's like you marry the same kind of old, elderly person. It's like almost in a bit to get away, you still end up right back into the frame. So that is almost
So you
like
have a lot
your
of the
power
physical
was stolen.
effects.
Yeah, so you have
The other
mental,
physical effect is we talk about the trauma, then you have the physical effect of, sometimes you get damage, your sexual organs, your vagina, they get damaged. You will get, you'll bleed out, or you might get torn, or you might damage even internal, or your uterus as a whole. There are some people who have gone out of trauma and rape that cannot make children anymore. The systems are interfered with in a way that's permanent, especially with children. There are permanent damages because,
when
of
they're
course,
very young.
yeah, with the sexual cycles, you have to be prepared. The vagina is so designed that it has to be prepared, right, for that impact, all right, in terms of sexual intercourse. And having the force aspect of it will, again, the physiological effect
Right.
of the damage that it brings to your organ.
And then you see the way the body works is that it's like it's always about preparation. It's
Right.
always about preparation. It's
Right.
like even to the extent that on the one side, someone could rape someone and it has such physical, devastating effect, and on the other side, a big child can come out of the same vagina.
Right.
So it's
Yes,
like
yes,
it's like
yes.
the massive,
The elasticity, right.
but it's
Yeah.
all about
Yeah,
preparation.
but you have to be ready, right.
Yeah, it's
You
all
have
about
to be ready.
preparation. And when it's all said and done, like you were talking earlier about how rape snatches the power, how it
Yeah.
subdues, how it restricts.
It's a
and that
power
is in the
thing.
physical
Yeah.
sense, it happened. But emotionally, it also happened.
Yes, yes.
You know,
yes.
it also shuts down some people's power to think, power to
Right.
be, power to become. So then Tamar she just went home.
Yeah.
And the Bible says she lived in her brother Absalom's house, a desolate woman.
Right.
That means from the time she was raped until
So that
she
means
died.
I feel she went into
she went into a kind of
mental
depression.
depression.
I feel she
yes.
chip off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think one of the things,
That's
even more
depression,
devastating than the rape itself, is the lack of justice, the lack of
Yeah.
the fact that nobody
then how she was treated as well
acknowledged
when
it.
it was
Nobody
done,
came.
you know?
Like nobody, like
Yeah.
father didn't come, brother did. Brother
Yeah.
just said, "The man be with you. Just hush, don't say anything." So she was shut up and shut down.
Yeah.
So how is a person who have just been just shut down in truth and in fact, and now everybody has agreed that you should be quiet? And so some people never spoke. Some people went
Yeah.
go into all kind of
Silence, yeah.
silence,
Yeah.
and it's like it's mentally, it's emotionally. Some people have the ability to do so much, and they never get up and stretch forward because they think that they
They've
can't,
not gone through
because they've
anything,
shut
felt,
that
yeah.
that experience
Support,
shut
yeah.
down even their willpower. You know, and that's why some people who've been raped once usually get repeated.
Sure.
You know, because almost like
Just remember, it's also a
gone.
seed that's been sown as well, because every sexual experience releases seeds, right? And if it does not happen with physical seed, it will happen with a spiritual seed, right? Because sex is designed to release a seed, right? And so apart from all the physiological impact, right? The damage to the organ, even damage to your other parts of your body. Some people, your hand gets squeezed, or you get caught, you get, bruised, different things.
Some people actually
in
beat
the struggle,
them.
right? In the struggle, some
Just carry on.
people.
No, I was just thinking about the
Carry
emotional.
on to come in,
No.
carry on, whatever.
I'm just thinking about the emotional impacts.
Yeah.
You're saying having to relive it. Some
Over
people
again.
actually have anxiety,
Yes.
and they don't know why they're so anxious, but it's because of what they experience with that. Some people even have eating disorders. It's like,
Yeah.
because what
Because
I
they're
realize
dealing
is that
with
it
it.
compounds
Yes.
Right.
on
comfort.
other
things.
different things. So it might just seem as it was rape,
Yeah.
but it comes with so many
Yeah.
other
The response is
that it really, as you say, it can change a person's identity, but it changes everything.
The
And it,
perception,
the
is
perception
reality
of,
for some
right,
people. Yeah.
of what happens,
Yeah.
then onwards. And so the question really here is, what is being done to help the victims? What is being done to help them to regain their strength, to regain life as it was before? Like, how do they deal with that trauma?
Well, I mean, first of all, to say that we are beginning the conversation, and I say that we are sparking a new phase of the conversation, because what happens over the years, people talk about it, then they go die. Something happens, the public just blows up, and then they go silent until something else happens. And because of the issue of silence, a lot of people who we encounter on a daily basis have been, like, in my journey, is like, I am shocked to find out that while we are going about our business as usual, everybody, as they say, minding their own business, this is so prevalent. It is literally happening on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And because some people cannot speak about it, all you see is the effect. So for the trained eyes, there are some subtle signs that you see. Like, I could literally maybe 7 out of 10 times look at an individual, whether a male or a female,
Yeah.
and have a very good sense as to whether that person was
Yes.
one way or the other violating. Now there are some telltale signs that you cannot ignore.
Right.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't say what the signs are, but I'm just saying, it's like, if for those of us who are vigilant, we can bring a person in, we can begin the conversation. This is not something some people might volunteer. This is something that if you tell them, oh, has that happened? They was like, no,
No,
that has
never.
not happened. That
Yeah.
has never happened.
Yeah.
Like that,
Yeah.
no, that would happen to me. I know somebody who it happened to, but it didn't happen to
Yeah.
me, So that's part of the challenge, because it is so private, it is so silent, it is difficult for people to talk about it, because it's as if, I remember I met a lady in England when we went to do the launch. We just kind of meet people random and just talk with them. And then she said to me, so she's like in her 60s, she's just retired, and that happened to her like way back when. So she said to me, if I tell you my story, then what? So that is for some people the fear. Like, she's looking at the book, and so some people who are victims, they hardly want to buy the book. They're like, oh my God, I don't want to deal with this. But this book is different in its approach. It is almost like a textbook rather than a storybook. So it helps the victims to understand, like, the fact that they're not alone. It helps them to kind of see how to deal with some of the emotional fallouts. That book allows them to see, they know how a thing was handled in scriptures and how people handled it and survived. So I think The Fallen Princess is kind of like a hopeful start, right? So spark the conversation that it's safe, and I'm not talking about people just blurring out their blotting, what's the word? Or their story, right? I'm not talking about people just telling people their story in an unsafe environment, because if people just start to talk, and someone who is listening to your story don't know what to do with it, it can become a weapon,
Yes.
right? So it has to be a safe space. It has to be when the person is ready. It has to be, like a kind of walking them through the process. And one of the things that God had given me in recent time is to help them to see purpose, right? Because like the Holy Spirit said to me verbatim,
Yeah.
healing is not the absence of pain, but the ability to turn pain into purpose. So sometimes the pain will never go away,
Yeah.
but if you understand purpose, that becomes, because I say, God, well, so many people are coming to me. I don't have the time to walk people through the journey. Because then for victims of rape, it takes a
Take a lot
lot
of time,
to
yeah,
walk
to
them, because
heal,
it's
yeah.
almost like a rewiring of their mental and physical and emotional, right? Because like they have already convinced themselves that they are broken and they are nothing and they're empty. And sometimes mindset is difficult to change. So for the people I've had to work with, I've had to spend some time walking with them. Sometimes we have fallouts. When I say breakout, you go back, fall down, get up, kind of a thing. And for the number of persons who are victim, it is not possible for an individual or a group or a church to be able to handle all of it because of the intricate details of what it takes. So like the Lord gave me the strategy of helping them to understand their purpose. And once they understand their purpose, it changes something inside of them. I've seen it happen. And sometimes God will give you something and I'm testing it, like I'm literally testing the strategy. And trust me, I have seen so many people, like come like almost a aha moment. Oh my God, oh my God. And then the journey starts. Now you are strength enough to stand because you understand that your pain can actually have a purpose, So I think for the victims out there, which I know there are many, male as well as female, and in a way because of the nature of men, it is more difficult for them to come out and say. While I was in England as well, I went on the block, I was just talking to the men, and the man was like I had to laugh because of how he said it. He's kind of Jamaican, so he was saying, well, it's like he was raped by a woman, and like he literally went to the police station. And the policeman laugh at him, laugh at him, laugh at him. And the policeman go as far to say, well, you bring that woman to me. Like, so almost that it is not, like, you can't tell me you are a man and you got raped. Like, that is not, like, you can't be serious, But the effect of rape on men is as devastating and maybe even worse because the whole manhood, it emasculates them. It makes them feel like, breaks you to the core.
Yeah.
And when you are broken like that, because remember, rape is about power. So anyone, and especially for a man, power is the fuel that drives men. So whenever that power is taken away from you, sometimes by a girl or something, like, hello, in the same way of sexual violence, physical violence, it's like it's a lot. A lot of boys
Just
have
recently we
been,
had a narrative.
right, they have been
Of a young
molested
boy
by
who was
people.
dragged
Yeah.
in the bushes to be raped.
Yep. So what happens to him when he comes out? Like, he becomes serial killer. He becomes like something has happened that will cause somebody to go in that mental state to want to take revenge on everything they meet, So at the end of the day, some of them don't think that they are men anymore, so they literally have orientation issues and all of that. And some are just been touched, but it takes away something. Like, like it's one thing for us to be sitting here to talk about this, but for us to really meet people who've experienced and is
yeah.
experiencing
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is a whole new ball game,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
And especially the church, we have to come to the place where we stand up, because sometimes the church is the most difficult place for people, whereas we should be the safest place.
Yeah.
You know, and at the end of the day, we want to raise the consciousness of the church, so that in the church they can find hope, they can find our arms, they can find love. Because people come in and they behave a certain way, and we never stop to ask them their story. We don't never stop to ask them the root cause of what they're experiencing. And you know, we want to encourage persons. Not everybody you see acting the fool or behaving funny, right, is actually just wanting to be funny.
Yeah.
Some of it are masks, some of it just masks the way they feel. Some of them might be doing things for a certain kind of attention. Some of them might be feeling so small they would be noisy and boisterous, and
Sometimes
some
a
of them
cry
are
for
over
help.
performance, and sometimes it's just a cry for help.
Yeah.
And if with the love of God we can embrace them, the Holy Spirit will show us their heart, will show us their need, and we'll be able to walk them back into purpose. You know, this Fallen Princess journey for me has been one of discovery, one of heartache, one of, you know, pain. Like it dawned on me that, you know, people are suffering every single day. And like, you know, for some people, we had like in the dream, based on the Fallen Princess, I'm waking up in the morning from my sleep, but while I am asleep, women are being hurt, men are being hurt. So God said, wake up, because I need my fallen princesses to get up again. And I want to say also to them, like, as Tamar, nothing changed. She was still the most beautiful daughter of the king. She was still her princess. So her princess status didn't change. Like, all that changed is how she felt about herself. And if you can get her to understand that she's still a princess and she belongs in the palace, maybe she will get up and do something with herself. But for Tamar, there was no hope of that. She never got up. She died a desolate woman. No husband, no love. Yeah, stayed inside her brother's house. Like I say, that was depression. That was depression.
And of course, you know, as time is elapsed on
Yep.
us so
Yep.
significantly,
Time does run so fast.
we have to
okay.
bring it to a wrap. But you know, it's a good place to end because you know there can be a situation of restoration, and there can be a situation where you just end it all, live your life in a way that is just like a rag tone, but there's hope. As long as there's life, there's hope. Hope that there's purpose. Hope that there's destiny. You know, so as we wrap up the conversation, we looked at all of the aspects of the victims of rape, you know, the assault, how that impacts an individual, all of the red flags. We've looked at the things that, you know, pay attention to. We may not be able to trap all, but a significant one might save a young person's life, another victim's life. And of course, we looked at the devastating impact itself, physiological impact, the mental impact, even the trajectory of moving forward in our lives, you know, not being stuck in one position for the rest of our lives. So this is serious stuff. And of course, we want to ensure that this message is gone out so that there is hope for somebody, even if you have already been raped or assaulted, and it's not like this is happening now, but you can find hope. So let's just wrap it up with speaking a word of hope to somebody out there. There might be somebody who are on their couch now, they're thinking about this, they're watching the book, as you said, and they don't know how they're going to deal with this. They don't want to wake up sleeping dogs, but they need hope, and they need hope now. So that's just, yeah.
Carrie, you want to go first?
Most definitely. I somewhat, you know, when we come on to do these programs, I'm often thinking as we're speaking and processing. And one of the reasons for that is I believe that this is the time now more than ever to have the difficult conversations. And we're not just having the difficult conversation because we have a few events happening
Right.
right now. The country is in an unrest state because of an issue, but we are having the difficult conversation because we understand the impact that sexual assault and rape have on our people, the young, the old, like nobody is exempted from it, and it can happen to anyone at any time. And that's the reason why we have to raise, the awareness of it. But I just want to say to somebody out there who may have been a victim that it is not over. It is not over. All hope is not lost. And what we're doing here, it's just, I believe this is just touching just a little of it. There's so
Surface.
much more that we can do. And so being an advocate for victims, as I would say, we are just trying to fulfill purpose. Fulfill purpose. So if you're out there and you have been a victim, there is hope. There is hope. There is hope. And we are here if you need to reach out to us. I mean, as Pastor Ruth said, we can't physically help everybody, but I'm telling you, you can reach out. And we'll definitely find a way
Amen.
to help you get through the process.
Amen.
So, Pastor
And
Ruth.
okay, so we can always connect. There are connections that we can make to help persons, and I'm thinking about the situation that's before us. And one of the things I found with David is that when he heard the news, he was angry, but he took no action. So anger without action is empty. Right, so people
Anger
without action is empty, right? And silence in the face of abuse is complicity, right? So it challenges parents, teachers, communities to confront evil rather than to cover it. The pain calls us to break the silence, defend the vulnerable, and bring justice and healing to the Tamars of today. And for some people who've already gone through the process, some people who've already been raped, and as I look at the situation before us, it is a symbol of what's happening. It is a child, it is a in-between person, it is a older person. It represents what just happened with this situation that we are dealing with now. It represents, in effect, what rape has been doing. And I think we should call on the authorities to take strict action, because based on confirmed reports, like this person should not have been out in the first place, and like the person is out, and then it's like some things some things could have been avoided. At the end of the day, we can go back and undo the things that have done, but hopefully all of us together, begin to think more seriously about like the issue. Since last year, we've been talking about the issue. It's like God woke me up out of my sleep to bring the issue to life. And so we've been talking about rape and sexual assault. Fallen Princess gives up opportunity for hope and restoration. And to those of you who've been out there, whether you be male, female, young or old, because some people are head of companies, head of entities, it's difficult for them to come down from their throne, so to speak, to handle the issue. And for David, whose own guilt prevented him, shut up his moral, he didn't think he had the moral compass to literally say anything about this, because he himself is a perpetrator. Right? We'll talk about that another time. So sometimes within the context of the home, based on what happened, because people know they're doing what they're doing, they do not want to talk when the victims die, literally. Some of them are living dead, in truth and in fact. So we want to encourage you. You're still what God has called, sent you here to be and to do. And if you were to understand it, then you can come back to life again, and you yourself can be an advocate for someone else. So I just want to encourage you, don't give up on life. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your goals. Don't give up. Just know, like he said to the children of Israel, I have heard your cry, and I've seen your affliction, and I am come down to deliver. God wants to deliver someone. I know sometimes the justice system, dash, but, there is a way that, as we begin to talk more about it, and, act the action, calling on governments, on organizations, on churches, on individuals. It has to be a collective fight. It has to be a constant, continuous, consistent fight.
Yes.
And one of these days we will make headways, because it is too much. And shall we say, echoing the same thing, enough is enough.
And of course, this is a great place to end the conversation with the clarion call, even for our country. We have seen the trajectory over the years. Everything is carnival, whether there is Easter celebrations, whether there is independence celebrations, whether it's the carnival celebrations, Christmas. And we have to begin to put a cap on certain things, because it's affecting our young people. The vulgarity, the nakedness, the exposure to sexual contents and songs. We are calling upon the authorities to really put a curb on some of the things and bring back things that are moral construct and things that are salient for our young minds and our young boys. Even in the schools, we want to implore the principals and administrations of schools to really think about the exposure that we're giving our young people in so many different ways. So we are going to put a cap on it at this point, you know. Of course, we do not like to end without a prayer. So we will really pray for those of you that are out there, and continue to allow the grace, the power of God to reach you. Sometimes we cannot reach you, but God can reach you where you are and deliver you from that condition that you're going through. So again, Pastor Ruth is going to pray for us. Just 1 minute or 2 minutes. Just believe God as you embrace the prayer, as you agree with her in prayer.
Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be on this platform, because we know that somebody who is listening have heard you tonight. There's somebody who was about to give up will no longer give up, because there is hope. Lord, somebody who has been struggling in silence, Lord, that your power will reach them right where they are. God, you have allowed us to be able to have this manuscript. You are the one who helped you pen it. You sent us, Lord, and I pray in the name of Jesus that, Lord, that persons out there who are battling, those in authority, those who are at the highest echelon, who, Lord, cannot come out and say, oh my God, this has happened to me, but somehow, somewhere you can reach them right where they are. Some people, decisions that they make because of what they've been through. Lord, as I was talking to someone today, it's like she's so overwhelmed and so broken. But I pray in the name of Jesus that the healing virtue of God will flow through somebody right now. Lord, there is no distance in prayer, and you know exactly somebody who is at this point, maybe want to, Lord, commit suicide, somebody who has given up thinking, I could never be healed, that I will always be broken. Lord, and like Tamar, they given up, but God, you said you sent to heal the brokenhearted and to bind up all their wounds. You are concerned about what they're going through, oh God. You are concerned about the issues. You are concerned about the shame. You cover them in the name of Jesus. And even as we continue this program every other week, Lord, may somebody's life be saved. May somebody find hope. May somebody get into contact with you. Because what man cannot do, you can do. God, you can heal, you can deliver, you can set free, you can break yoke. Lord, you have a track record of bringing deliverance and healing. Lord, may purpose come out of, Lord, a bad and disgusting situation. May somebody find their purpose in the midst of trauma. And Lord, may hope come back to them, and may life to come back to them. Lord, I pray that your Holy Spirit will minister to somebody even now. And may the grace of God, God, reach them right where they are, so that they will get up, Lord, even from their desolate position. Those who are mentally challenged, emotionally challenged, those who have broken relationship, broken marriage, Lord, those who do not even know how to love, may the love of God reach them right where they are, so that deliverance and freedom can come. Men as well as women, children as well as adults, Lord, so that God, you will bring healing and deliverance in Jesus' mighty name. I thank you for peace for someone even now who may be watching us and say, Lord, I need help. I don't even know how to put up my hand. God sees you. He sees you right where you are. And he said, if you reach out, he will deliver and set you free, and he will make you an instrument for others who need help. Father, I thank you for doing it even now. In Jesus' name.
And of course, As you embrace that prayer,
Have the
you could
pressures
also
of
get the
life stresses
resource
got you
in the
bogged
book
down
Fallen
and
Princess.
depressed?
Of course,
Have you
you
lost
can
your hope
contact,
to live
there's
purposefully?
it right there. You can
Are you
contact
in distress
the
and life seems
author.
meaningless and
All
troublesome?
right, this is a great resource
It's
for you.
time to
So,
regain your
the
mental
number to call
wellness
is
and receive
417
power to
8112.
trash all
and get a copy
anxiety.
of this book so that
The
you
IBA Threshing
able
Floor
to pace yourself through whatever trauma that you're going through. Those of you that have joined us on the line, we thank you for joining us. We do apologize that we are not able to see the WhatsApp messages, but we do embrace some of you that on the platform, on the YouTube channel, on WhatsApp. Thank you again for joining us here on the Threshing Floor Helpline as we dig into the Fallen Princess. Blessings on everyone.
And thanks
You
to our
have yourself.
technical director, Disabe. Blessings. And Hope FM. Thank you.
And shouting out to all IPA churches across Grenada.
Have the pressures
Blessings
of
on everyone.
life stresses
Bye.
got you bogged down and depressed? Have you lost your hope to live purposefully? Are you in distress and life seems meaningless and troublesome? It's time to regain your mental wellness and receive power to trash all anxiety. The IBA Threshing Floor Helpline is here for you. Join us on Hope 103.1 FM every other Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. with me, your host, Bishop Esther Batiste.